so I only saw
Were you still crying in a darkened room?
Pretty much, but I only saw the highlights.
Oh gosh!
And from what I saw him take a shot at his back, and his head hit his head. So he could have done just as much damage to his own head as he did to Wentz's head.
Not when you see it coming, you don't.
Oh gosh!
I thought it was a terrible play. I really thought it was terrible. Spoiled the game too. Totally spoiled the game.
Yeah,
end of the game. End of the game in that moment.
Well, let's face it. Any quarterback that was over 40 didn't have a good shot last week.
No. So Jay, one note you probably should have included in this, as far as the Packers not being favored by more at home, is because Aaron Rodgers in his last 5 playoff games at Lambeau is only 3-2.
But still winning.
It's still winning, but it doesn't give me a lot of confidence because they also have a good enough chance to lose. Remember, Lambeau used to be the spot where no one wanted to go in January to play, and the first home, way back when, the first home loss they took in Lambeau was to Michael Vick and the Falcons. And that was only because they couldn't deal with the running ability of Michael Vick. And that was the outlier until Eli, beat them several years later. So, I mean, it used to be impossible to win up there. Now it's like everyone's got a shot. So, look, with these two teams, these two quarterbacks, I say, honestly, it comes down on who gets more out of their running game. So, yeah, this will fall between Lynch and Aaron Jones more than anything else. I don't think the quarterbacks will factor too much into this. Let's be honest. The Packers, we mentioned before, before we came on, Packers are probably like the worst 13-3 team we've seen in some time. They win ugly, but it's still winning. And, as long as it gets you a championship, no one cares. Real quick on the injuries for the Packers, defensive tackle Kenny Clark has a back injury and didn't practice on Wednesday. Linebacker Preston Smith has an ankle injury. He was limited. Also showing up are running backs Dexter Williams and Danny Vitale. Guard Billy Turner also listed as questionable. For the Seahawks, Ziggy Ansah has a neck injury. He was limited. Clowney still nursing that core injury. Wide receivers Deron Brown and Malik Turner have knee and concussion protocol, respectively. Quentin Jefferson, defensive tackle, shows up on the injury report along with center Joey Hunt and tackle George Fant. Kendricks was placed on injury reserve shortly after Sunday's game. Also, offensive linemen on the injury report for the Seahawks include Mike Iapati and Dwayne Brown. So 3/4 of the line, they're banged up in Seattle. Could pose problems.
By the way, I believe we saw in our Slack channel that Devontae Adams, in dealing with the silent killer problem in the Packers locker room, has advised all players to wash their hands and their butts.
Yes.
Because, not sure what the butt has to do with the silent killer, but
I would say don't do it in that order.
Don't wipe their rear ends.
Yeah.
Do it in a different order. Do the butt first, then the hands, I would say.
Probably.
Absolutely, probably best.
And while we're not sponsored by these folks anymore, but I mean, the peppermint butt wipes that you get from Dollar Shave Club are a life changer. I'll just tell you that right now.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Anyway, back to this game. Jay, I'm 50-50 on this game, but just to be contrarian, because I'm pretty sure you all are taking the Packers, I'm going to just pick the Seahawks.
No, Neil took the Seahawks.
Oh, my gosh. Hell has frozen over.
I don't. I've said before, I said a few minutes ago, I think this is a the Packers. I don't rate the Packers. I mean, they can't help who they played this year. That's just the way the scheduling works, but I don't see a good team here. However, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rodgers just play brilliantly through these playoffs. But somehow, I just see too many holes on that defense. Can they stop the run? I'm not sure they can stop the run, James.
Oh, I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not. Let's put it this way: between whoever the Seahawks deploy at running back, their running back should combine for at least 100 yards minimum in this game. Unlike last week where they couldn't get anything started because they were going up against the third-ranked run defense, that's a different story with the Packers.
All right. Neil wants to pick the college football championship game, but quite honestly, I mean,
I don't care.
Do you think anyone other than Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers, you think the Clemson Tigers can beat the LSU Tigers?
I actually think this will be a much closer game than maybe people are giving it a chance at the moment. I think Trevor, our boy Trevor, Jay, he had a great game, didn't he, against Ohio State? Absolutely superb. Dragged them back with his legs, not so much his arm. But a flavour of the month, Joe Burrow. He's good, but just a few guys to look out for, Jay. I think Clemson linebacker Isaiah Simmons, certainly a guy to watch out for. He's a very mobile, modern-day coverage linebacker. Plays safety as well. And I would say for LSU, look out for wide receiver Justin Jefferson, who had a superb game against Oklahoma in the playoff. And, yeah, certainly have a look at both quarterbacks. I mean, obviously, Burrow is quite likely to go number one overall. And Trevor Lawrence was likely to go number one overall next year. So you're seeing the cream of college quarterbacks on show in this game. I think it'll be a cracker. But I would think at the end of the day, LSU will just pip the Clemson Tigers to win the national championship for the first time for quite a while, I think, since LSU won the national championship. What do you think?
I really don't care about the college football game. I'm just glad that Alabama's not playing in it. So
yeah, it's good.
Take from that what you will.
Let's talk about coaches, shall we? Because there's been a number of hires.
Well, can I just start by saying how disappointing it is that another year, another series of young white guys getting head coaching jobs.
Except for an old Latino in your town.
Sure, Washington, the team of equality. I
wouldn't go that far.
No, I wouldn't go that far either, James.
Integrate.
Before we get into that particular part of the conversation, let's just congratulate the guys that did get jobs, shall we? It started with Mike McCarthy, who's not that young, by the way, in Dallas. Which was a little bit of a surprise on Monday morning. As a matter of fact, I was watching Good Morning Football, and Kay Adams, in a throwaway line going to break before the Mike McCarthy news broke, was just said, what if Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels ended up in Dallas? And it totally blew my mind because it would make perfect sense for Jerry Jones to go. He's got the cap space. He can move on from Dak, and he's got a coach who he could completely control in Josh McDaniels, and then draft a quarterback that he wants to groom under Brady for 2 years.
Move on from Dak.
Yeah. Okay, I'll ask you this, Neil, and as a matter of fact, I won't even ask you. I'll ask James. James, would you rather have Tom Brady or Dak Prescott?
Dak Prescott?
Dak Prescott.
No, you don't.
Tom Brady's
finished.
Right now, Tom Brady is not finished.
Tom Brady's finished.
Are you talking? Wait. So let's quantify this. You talking about right now for like a season, or for the next 5+ years? Right now for a season
on the Dallas Cowboys with that offensive line and with Amari Cooper re-signed.
It's still Dak.
Dak Prescott.
You're crazy. You're both crazy.
Okay.
You're out of your mind. Here's a better way to word it. Who would you rather give $30 million to? Would you rather give it to Tom Brady for 2 seasons, or would you give it to Dak Prescott for 5? Because that's also the big difference between
Jay, I think you're missing the point here. I think if you want to do a comparison with Tom Brady, you have to go down the league a little bit. So it's like, do you want to have Ryan Finley or Tom Brady? I'll have Ryan Finley, thanks. And I'd rather give the $30 million to James. He deserves it.
Oh my God!
You're both completely out of your minds. In any case,
Tom Brady is finished. Over.
In any case, it's a total hypothetical that didn't happen because Mike McCarthy ended up with the job in Dallas. Then Carolina.
Great news.
Carolina said, guess what? We want this Matt Rhule character from Baylor. Not only do we want him, we're going to show up in his driveway. He's going to just get back from vacation in Mexico. We're going to help him unpack his bags. And that's really going to bond us to Matt Rhule. And that's apparently the way the story goes. The general manager for Carolina waited for him in his driveway and helped him unpack his bags.
What sort of slap in the face is that for the Giants?
I mean,
massive, huh?
Pretty big one. And apparently Rhule sent the Giants what the Panthers were going to give him and said, match it, and I'll come to New York. And New York said, we're good. We've got our guy, because our guy isn't even someone we've interviewed yet. It's going to be a Patriots assistant. Yeah, we're scheduled to talk to Josh McDaniels here in the next couple of days, and I know he was scheduled to talk to you guys on the day you hired Matt Rhule. We're going to go ahead and hire this other guy named Joe Judge, who the media said was the Patriots wide receivers coach, which technically was true. However, Joe Judge was the special teams coach for a number of years, including this past year. And that's really where a majority of his time was spent. Not so much with the wide receivers, but
he wants to keep the wide receiver thing quiet, doesn't he, after N'Keal Harry's season?
Well, listen, the wide receivers clearly were not very successful this past season, but Joe Judge was technically named the wide receivers coach for this past season, along with his special teams duties. The special teams were great. They were historically great. Yeah. The wide receivers were not. They were historically bad for the Patriots.
Can I just stop you there, Jay? Because there's so many things to pick up. I'm sure James is itching as well to get going here. It's been a bad week for Josh McDaniels. It's been a bad week for the New York Giants. It's been a terrible week for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, McCarthy is the best they could do. I mean, this guy is an he's a proven loser. He's
also a proven winner.
Give him a Hall of Fame. No, he's not. Give him a Hall of Fame.
He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he had the Hall of Fame quarterback, probably the greatest quarterback we've seen, along with Brady in the last 10, 12 years. And he got what, one Super Bowl? I mean,
well, now he's got $30 million Dak Prescott, who you guys are all drooling over. So I mean, he'll be just fine.
I'd say Prescott's a mid-level league quarterback, somewhere in the 15-16 range. But McCarthy's going to have to prove that he's changed, because if he hasn't changed, nothing's going to happen there. I mean, in Green Bay, he could do what he liked. He didn't have an owner looking over his shoulder, did he, all the time? Now he's going to have Jerry Jones in his back pocket. But the biggest question with this hire is, I read that he stayed at Jerry Jones's house for overnight. Can you sort of run me through how that works? Is he sort of in the shed, or is they put a tent up in the garden for him, or is he kind of like at the bottom of Jerry's bed, sleeping on a sofa? Or
I'm sure Jerry Jones has a guest bedroom, Neil.
Yeah, I wonder how that works. How does that,
if not a guest house?
Yeah, I'm actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a guest house.
You don't think he was tucked up with Jerry? You think Jerry tucked him in at night and said, sleep now? Yeah.
That might be the whole deal there with Jerry Jones. He wants to be so buddy with his coaches.
Yeah, it's totally weird, huh?
It's a little surprising.
Yeah.
Or it could just show that Jerry Jones is cheap and didn't want to spend for the hotel to keep him.
So bad week for Josh McDaniels then.
Well, if you believe everything that you read, he's the shoo-in for Cleveland.
I mean, that guy doesn't deserve that sort of punishment. I don't like him, but he's not that bad.
I honestly think Josh McDaniels stays with New England at this point. I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to take the Cleveland job.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't see him leaving.
Big contract.
To that point,
Rhule got a big contract, didn't he? $60 million or something over 7 years. Wow.
He did.
Can be up to 70.
He's got Chip Kelly written all over him. That guy has.
Did I mention that I hate you today?
Yeah, indeed.
Did I mention that earlier, that I hate you?
I'm going to miss you, James. I really am. It's a huge risk though for Carolina, to plow so much money and power into an unproven guy in the pros.
But did you see his press conference? He got everyone so fired up. he's building a community there in Carolina.